Welcome to Locality Podcast. This is our podcast at Triple T where we're just talking to different members of the community. Today we have Miss Wendy Osborne here. Wendy, welcome. Thank you so much for being a
Thank
part
you,
of this.
Chris. I'm excited to be here.
Thank you. One of the things that I just kind of wanted to start with is really an introduction on kind of you and yourself. So I know you and I had a conversation a little while back. You were one of the first kind of community members that I came and talked to, actually, with the recommendation of Brad Tanner, and that was really eye-opening for me. It was a really special kind of introduction to the community, me being new here from Colorado. And so I just was hoping maybe you could tell us a little bit about yourself and your founding story, just for maybe some of our listeners that might not know exactly who you are or what you're passionate about and what you do.
Oh, well, thank you, Chris. And again, I was so grateful for the opportunity that I was so grateful that Brad introduced us and made that connection. And it was great to have you come into our food pantry and to meet me and for us to get to know you and just kind of just start that relationship, which has been wonderful. So a little bit about me. I moved here to Spanish Fork about 18 years ago. I started Tabitha's Way local food pantry in 2010 here in Spanish Fork, and we opened up in a teeny little building, kind of just across the street from where we are now on Main Street. A small little space, and it just grew and grew and grew. And then shortly within the first year, we moved across the street to the other side of Main Street, and then grew that space, and then into the building that we are now. So we've been in our building that we are now for about a little over 6 years, somewhere between 6 and 8 years, roughly. So, yeah. So
That's awesome. With kind of the kind of food pantry idea, where did that kind of come from? What drove you to kind of choose to go in that direction? There's so many different areas that I know in your past that you could have gone. What kind of
hmm
brought you to that stage?
yeah. So I was in telecommunications before I started Tabitha's Way, and I loved my career in telecommunications. It was fascinating,
Hmm.
being involved in that industry. But to be honest with you, I was kind of on a personal spiritual journey per se, and recognizing I kind of got to spot my life where I realized my life was about my career and about all these about my. It was very much about me, I
Hmm.
guess is what I would say, and I recognized there wasn't a lot of fulfillment in that. Even though I enjoyed technology and I loved telecom, it just wasn't. I just woke up one day and realized, is this me? Is this all there is to life? And I thought, this isn't all I want there to be. And so I began for about a 2 year period of volunteering and being involved with other nonprofit organizations. I'll be very honest with you and say I had no idea that God was going to pull me into this direction.
Hmm.
I didn't, honestly. I mean, most people, when they talk about Tabitha's Way and they talk about where we are today and the success we've had as an organization or what we do, the importance of what we do, I guess, a lot of people are, say, wow, that's amazing what you've done, Wendy. And I have to stop them right away and say, nobody's more surprised than me.
Ah.
And so yeah, it's an honor, it's a delight. I love to do what I get to do.
Hmm.
Serving and helping people in our community is just fundamental, and it just enriches my life. And so yeah, so that's, did I answer the question? I don't know if I did or
Yeah,
not.
no,
So
that's great. Really, the background of it, I think, is really cool because I'm a big proponent of knowing people's whys.
yeah.
If you know why people are passionate about something, then it's easier to get behind that passion and
hmm
share it.
yeah.
For me, I had a lot of people in my life that were very deeply passionate about certain items, whether it was people development or management, and that really affected me. And I think sometimes in our community there's just people that are looking for a why to latch onto,
Mm.
and the origin story is sometimes really helpful when it comes to other people being like, oh, okay, I can connect with that.
hmm
And
Well, and passions grow, right?
yeah.
It's like for me, I feel like again, I was helping other organizations, volunteering, and the name Tabitha, actually Tabitha's Way, comes from a scripture in the Bible.
Mm.
So in the Bible, there's a book called the Book of Acts, and it's chapter 9, verse 36 through 42. And there's a story of this woman named Tabitha who was providing food and clothing for people in her community. And I was praying and meditating on the scripture when God put on my heart to just leave my career in telecommunications and start a food pantry. Now that sounds a little bit wild and crazy, right? But and so I did that. And what's been fascinating about that is, talking about passions growing is I feel like when I first started, I loved helping and serving people. But the more I got into it, the more I connected with the individuals I was serving. I'll be honest with you, in telecommunications, yes, I connected with my customers on a business level, and that was great. But really seeing people is not something I felt like I did well before Tabitha's Way. And so, that passion for serving people, for loving people and helping people has grown as Tabitha's Way has grown for me.
That's really
that's
cool.
Been my experience. So I love that you talked about your passion and the people who have influenced you and, the direction and the passion that you have for your life.
It's neat. I think there's those pivotal points in people's lives where you were going one way and you were one particular person, and then something happens, and then all of a sudden life is different. And I think it's like the ultimate redemption story, really. Mm-hmm. And I think that's where a lot of passion and purpose comes from, and that's really, really cool.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing maybe a few stories that you've had just now that you've been doing Tabitha's Way for a long time? Are there any stories that kind of stand out to you that just really cemented in your mind, yeah, this is exactly what God wanted me to do. This is exactly where I need to be?
Mm-hmm. Oh, there's many. There was many times where when you step out and do something different, and I have a great support group. I have a wonderful husband, family, friends, but when you leave your career and you go start a nonprofit organization, your family still, there's some questions there, and there were moments where I did feel a little alone in doing that. And again, I've always had love and support my family, but there's times where they maybe didn't quite understand what I was doing, or quite grasp what was going on. And because again, like I said, it was a bit of a personal spiritual journey too as well. But and so there was moments where there's two specific moments where I felt like I was really struggling, where individuals just stepped forward and offered just either a lending hand or an encouraging word that made a difference. In our first building, we had this teeny little building, and outside our door was like, it was a really bad year where in the winter it was just, the whole parking lot was ice, and right before our door it was just like sheets of ice. And I was trying to remove the ice so people could get into our building so they could get food. and I was trying to chip away at this ice, and this gentleman came over out of nowhere, and if I didn't know better, I would swear he was just an angel. He just showed up, and he grabbed a shovel, and he just removed all the ice so that people could get into our building. And I never even got his name. I remember his face, and he just showed up, removed all the ice so that people can get in. And because I was out there just this back-breaking work trying to get this ice. And I'm a bit of a princess, so manual labor is not like a thing for me. so I was really struggling, and he just removed all the ice, and he didn't even say a word or anything. He just picked up a shovel and just removed all the ice. And I was so encouraged that somebody was working alongside me to help get this done and help actually get it done, because I think I would have been there till the next day trying to remove ice. And then there was another time where I was sitting alone in our pantry, and I just was really feeling, like I said, alone and worried, or just I had all these thoughts in my mind about our organization, where it was going, and what we were trying to do, and somewhat just felt alone, I guess, is there's no other way to say that, just emotionally a little bit alone. And this gentleman came in, and he was an older gentleman. He was Latino, and he walked in and he looked around, and I don't even remember the exact words that he said, but his words touched my heart, and he just encouraged me. I know he said, it was something along the lines about how important it was and how meaningful it was, and what a blessing it was to so many people. And it was just just a few minutes. It was literally like a 5-minute conversation, but it was what I needed at that moment. It's like, for me, it felt like this is somebody that God sent to me to encourage me, to stand in front of me, to just lift me up and say, keep going. Don't stop. I know it's hard, but just keep going. And that really helped. There's those moments of where people encouraged me. And then there's other moments where things that happened, at Tabitha's Way, that are just memories that I hold as treasures in my heart, that buoy me up as well and just encourage me to continue on the path. I remember there's this one little boy who, his family didn't have very much money. They were coming to our food pantry, and at the time we had like a little thrift store, and what we would do is if somebody came in and they needed clothing, we'd give it to them for free if they couldn't pay. If they could pay, they would pay $1. Well, he was at the age of a boy where, and I had 3 boys, so I know a little bit about this, where boys wear out the knees of their pants. And
got one right here.
Exactly. Yeah. Okay, so that age now has widened.
There we go.
But this little boy, he was wearing hand-me-downs, so he was wearing his big brother's clothes, and he was always holding his pants up by his hands, and he didn't have a belt, and he didn't have pants that fit him, and so every time he'd come in, I was trying to find pants for him that he could wear that I could give to him. But because that was the age where boys always wore out their pants, I didn't have a lot of pants that would fit him. I just could never find a pair of pants. And so I was talking to somebody else and saying, we've got the situation with this little boy who needs a pair of pants. And I told him why. I was sitting there thinking, imagining, okay, you're a little boy, you can't climb a tree because you're holding your pants up, right?
Oh, man.
It was like the saddest thing. It's like, this little kid can't be a boy because he can't do any boy things because he's holding up his pants. And a few hours later, that individual came back and brought in 3 pairs of pants that I could give to this little boy. And it just like, one, that somebody would say, oh, I can help with this, and I'm going to bring in these brand new pants for this little boy, and to be part of that. And then the look on this little boy's face when he had 3 brand new pair of pants, which he had not had before, nothing new, that were his pants that fit him, that he could go run around and climb trees and run and be a boy. And it was such a blessing to be part of that story. And it's just a small part, but it's what a great part of, it just, those are the memories that I put in my heart. And I think these little small moments of blessings and that I get to share in helping with people's lives or doing things has been wonderful.
That's amazing. I think a lot about what you do to the least of these, you also do to me, talking back to scripture. And I think that it's really, really special. And I do think that there's a lot of people that want to figure out a good way of helping and contributing. And sometimes, I know for myself, I'll get into a position where I'm so busy just with life. And, I'm running from one meeting maybe to another, or, I'm trying to get my wife sorted. I'm trying to make sure that she's got everything she needs. I have to go somewhere else. And I know that there has to be lots of opportunities that, I'm in the world for a reason. And there could be opportunities that I'm just passing up because I do get into that space. And what I really was excited about is, people who also feel the need to help their community, but have a place for sometimes people like myself that need that reminder, hey, this is an opportunity. There are other people out there. How can we rally around people, because people are important, and help the people that need it most? And I know when we were speaking, you talked a little bit about how little monetary-wise and maybe even time-wise can go such a huge, far way for people when it comes to food. Do you mind kind of sharing a little bit about what does a meal cost? And, on average, how many people do you generally see needing meals in our community?
The numbers, so kind of speaking to the magnitude of need, we're seeing, last year in total, our organization served over 154,000 individuals in Utah County.
Wow.
And that's through all of our locations. Our Spanish Fork Pantry, we're serving about 96 families a day. That's how many we're seeing coming in. And so it's quite a bit. And the cost for us, so Tabitha's Way, or food pantries, one of the things that we do, and it's very common for food pantries, is we go out and we collect food, what we call grocery rescue. So Target, Costco, Walmart, Macy's, restaurants, food growers and food producers and resellers. We go out and pick up excess foods that is perfectly good for people to eat, that maybe the stores have a large quantity of or an excess of, or food that's getting close to the expiration date isn't the freshest, because grocery stores, they want to have the freshest foods out. So
Got it.
for example, when you go buy a gallon of milk, what do? We look at the date on the gallon of milk, right?
Every time.
And so you're going to grab, the milk that's going to last you the longest. And grocery stores know that we do this.
Got it.
So when they get their new shipment of milk out in to the stores, and they have some milk that maybe still hasn't expired, but it's still good. When they get that new shipment in, they know as consumers that we're not likely to buy the milk with the old, the date that's going to expire sooner. They're going to grab the newer milk, right? So they donate that milk to us.
Got it.
So that's kind of an example. And so, or sometimes we've had stores where they've accidentally over ordered, and they said, "Oh, we thought we were getting, 5 pallets of bananas, and we got 20. Would you like 5?" And so they give us that food, and we bring that food in. And so, so we do that. We do what we call grocery rescue. We're picking up foods from grocery stores and all these different organizations. In addition to that, our organization has 24 paid staff members.
Wow.
Qualified staff members, which we need for food safety and regulations. There's a lot of complex processes that go into running a food pantry that a lot of people don't realize. It's not just handing out free food. We're accountable to food safety and regulations. And so we do have to have paid, competent staff. But behind each staff member, we have 20 to 25 volunteers backing up each staff member. And we can't feed 154,000 people without a lot of help.
Yeah.
And so because of the number of volunteers we have, and because of the amount of food we're able to collect, we're actually able to provide a nutritious meal for as little as 20 to 25 cents approximately.
Wow.
Per meal. So you can't go to McDonald's and get a full meal for 20 to 25 cents, but we can provide that meal for that cost.
That's amazing.
So yeah. So I wanted to make sure I explained the background, because when I say 20 cents, they're like, well, how can you do that?
Yeah.
So I have to explain the how behind that a little bit so
Got
people
it.
understand.
That's really interesting. That threw me for a surprise whenever I came and visited you, and you guys are busting at the seams in your building, and it was really cool to meet some of the people that are regularly there and volunteering and whatnot. Tell me a little bit about that operation. So we have like food that comes from different people or different organizations. They get to your building. What happens? What needs to happen with that food to fit in the regulations and making sure that you can continue moving forward with this food pantry?
Great question. So in addition to picking up food from grocery stores and restaurants and so forth, we also receive food donations from the general public. So we can receive shelf-stable food items. We can receive produce, like from your garden, or apples from your tree. But we have to check all of the food that we get in. So every bit of food we get in, we actually have to weigh. We have to record what the source is from it, and make sure it stays within the temperature controls, or the temperatures regulations that are required. We have to check it. So, like, for example, if you were to bring in a can of food, I have to look at that can of food and look at, does it have its nutritional label? Does it have the proper dates, to make sure it's not dented to where maybe air can get into it and there can create, mold or botulism or anything like that. So there's all these different, and depending on the package, so whether it's a can or it's a certain type of food packaging, we actually have to inspect it. And
Wow.
so each food item is handled about 5 times before we even put it on our shelf, which again, that's where those thousands of volunteers come into play, where we need all these hands checking food. So we get it, we check it, we then put it into inventory. We do what's called first in, first out inventory. So we're making sure that we have minimal food waste. And then it goes from our warehouse then into our staging area, then from our staging area into our food pantry, where we actually serve it to the families that are coming in.
Got it.
So it's a process. It's quite a bit of logistics and processes. People think, oh, there's a lot there.
Yeah, totally. I remember when I was walking through the facility, like seeing all even the freezers that you have and having to make sure that things are at the right temperature. And then when you pick up the food, it has to stay at that temperature. And
Mm-hmm.
if there's variations of it, then, that can cause different problems for the food. It
Mm-hmm.
really struck me about like the dented cans,
Yeah.
and in my mind, we're such an odd society, right? Like if I go to the store and I see a can is dented, I'm going to move it over to the side, and then I'm going to grab the one that's undented. And even though I
Mm-hmm.
might be using it later that day, to
Mm-hmm.
me it just is like, I'm just gonna do the one that looks pretty that I'm just going to throw away
Mm-hmm.
anyway.
Yeah.
Tell me a little bit about like that. Like how much of the food that you bring in do you end up having to reject, and then what do you do with it?
So, great question. So, we do reject some. Again, and there's different reasons for rejecting food. It's not just also the presentation of food and whether it's a dent in a can or those types of things. And that kind of goes back to a dignity, respect type issue
Yeah.
in my mind. Making sure individuals who are coming to our food pantry are down on the luck, dealing with crisis, and it's really important that we give things to people that I would feel good about eating or serving to my grandchild, right? And
Mm.
so it's about dignity, giving our best to individuals. So there's that aspect about what things look like, but it's also about nutritional content. So I tell people, technically you could eat some food items, like certain canned food items, you can eat them, 7 years past their expiration date,
Mm.
and you could eat it, but it would have no nutritional value for you.
Oh,
And
interesting.
so we are looking at dates based off of the food type to determine, okay, we need to make sure we have high nutritional content. And the reason that is we're serving families with children. 50% or more of the population we're serving are children.
Wow.
So we need to have good nutrients that we're providing to these families. And so whether that's canned food or fresh produce or frozen meats or dairy, it's really making sure that they have full nutritional content and availability, and of course variety, right?
Yeah.
I think I told you I was laughing about at one point we had like I think 4 or 5 pallets of green beans, and I swore if anybody brought me another can of green beans, I was going to charge them $5 to hold their green beans for them. And what would it look like if the only food you had available to you was just green beans, and would that be a dignified way to serve your neighbor? And that's not something that we ever want to do.
Hmm.
And you might not like green. I like green beans, but what if you didn't like green beans?
Fair enough.
So making sure that you have access to food that you will eat, that you will use, and that you want and feel good about eating. And then there's also the dietary needs, right? What if you have celiac and you can't eat flour? So making sure that we're meeting dietary needs, of course, making sure that food looks appealing, that they would like to eat it, goes back to that dignity and respect. And so there's a lot of thoughts that are going on behind all of the processes we have, and there's a lot of intentionality behind it. And we do that because we love people.
Yeah.
And we like to do what we do, and we want to do it well.
That's
And we
amazing.
love the people we get to serve. We serve the best people. We get to serve them is what I like to say. We get to. It's an honor. So.
That's really cool. I agree, and you've shared some of the kind of the stories a little bit ago that you kind of keep in your heart and whatnot that are really special to you. I saw a post on your Facebook kind of talking about some stories that came out of the most recent food drive and some celebrations and some things like that. Do you mind sharing with us maybe like one or two stories of the people specifically on their feedback that they've given you? And the reason why I feel like this is a great place to tell that is because you do such an amazing job of treating people with dignity and thinking through those little things. It's easy just to, not easy, it's logistically okay to set up a food assembly line and get everybody one can of green beans, and that's
Mm-hmm.
fine. But the little extra steps that you take into the intentionality of what is it that people need? Would I serve this to my family? How is that affecting people in our community right now?
It's one, first off, I think from a volunteer and organizational standpoint, and from a community at large, people want to serve people well. And so I feel like the community embraces that mindset of really being intentional, loving, and serving and lifting people. And so that's been a wonderful thing. And then, from the those individuals that come into our food pantry and getting feedback from what they have to say about what our organization does. And I'll share a story that will highlight this. We had a woman who came into our food pantry. She had relocated to our area about 4 years ago for a job. And so she brought her whole family here. And recently something happened with the company, and she lost her job. She came into our food pantry after her severance had run out, and she's came in because she needed food, obviously. And as we sat down, so in addition to food, we also provide what we call resources. So as part of our mission. And so we recommend resources for self-reliance to help people. We understand people who are coming to our food pantry are food insecure, but what is the root cause of that food insecurity is one of the things we also do to try to unravel what's going on and what's your story and what other ways besides providing food can we help you. And so this woman's story, she came in, and as we were talking to her, she didn't realize that we had workforce services right here in town, like just a few miles away. And so we said, yeah, hey, there's this resource, and this organization can help you find a new job. And so she called us 2 weeks after, and she called and she said, one, thank you so much for the food that it helped me and my family through our tough time. But I also am calling back to say I'm no longer going to need your food pantry because I've got a new job. And I just want to share with you how excited I am that I have this new job. And, and what a celebration. We're like, yay, we're all excited. Just sharing that excitement with her, and that she would call us back and say, thank you. And by the way, I'm doing better. And so those are stories that we hear often from the individuals we serve. People don't want to have to use a food pantry. It's just individuals going through tough times. Maybe it's job loss. Truth is we don't put cancer, divorce, our car breaking down into our budget typically. And so when those things happen, people are like, okay, now what do we do? And one of the first things that people cut from their budget is food. Because you have your rent, or your mortgage payment, that's static. You have your utilities, you have to pay for your car so you can continue to work and get back and forth. And so there's a lot of things you can cut out of your budget, but food is one of the first things that people will cut, because there's certain things that you cannot cut from your budget, right? Yeah. And so that's what we see often. And so families coming in are just families going through that tough time that need that temporary help. So.
Got it. Man, that really struck me. I hadn't really thought about, what if you were to try to make rent and make everything else that you need, what are those ideas? And, food is something that I guess I take for granted. And it's really interesting. For me, it struck me really deeply that, no, this is sometimes like a choice. And life happens. And, man, protecting and giving that type of food and that type of experience to help bring people from maybe a situation that nobody can plan for, and give them the tools to be able to move on in a really great upward direction is so cool. Yeah, I love that. You've got some challenges coming up here too with your building and transition and whatnot. Maybe do you mind walking us through a little bit about you're in the process of kind of moving to another building and trying to get the right amount of space. So tell us a little bit about that challenge. What were the challenges that you're running into at your current space, and how is this new space coming along?
So great question. Again, you're absolutely right. As I mentioned earlier, the magnitude of the number of individuals we're serving is huge. And what we've seen as an organization is a 30% increase year over for the last several years. So the number of people growing by 30%.
Wow.
And so that's significant. And so what we started realizing is, so right now the current space that we're at in Spanish Fork specifically is about 6,500 square feet between our warehouse and our entire building space to serve people. And if you're serving, like I said, averaging 96 families a day, we just don't have enough space to fit all of those individuals. And so, and just for those who maybe might not know what a food pantry looks like, inside our food pantries are set up like a little grocery store. So it's a client choice pantry where people can come in, they grab their grocery cart, and they go in and they shop, and they get the food off the shelves. Well, so you have to have enough space to fit the individuals and the grocery carts and the food in this space. And We just don't have enough space inside for that for the number of families that we're serving. We also don't have enough parking. Right now, we have only about 19 parking spaces, and our warehouse is only about 2,000, a little over 2,000 square feet. And so, what we ran into is we might get food donations that are coming in, and some of the food donations we've had to say, if somebody calls me and says, "Hey, I've got, 10 pallets of cereal," which cereal is a hot commodity for food pantries. I would have to say, well, I can accept maybe 5, or I can accept 3, depending on how much space I have available in my warehouse. And so our warehouse only holds maybe 3 months worth of food, and if we're lucky, and so, and we're moving food so fast, and so, and again, it's about variety and variability with the food items, and so we don't have enough warehouse space, we don't have enough parking space, and we don't have enough physical space to serve the number of families we're serving. And so we looked at this about 4 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago, and we had the unique opportunity. There was a building that was for sale right across the street from our existing building in Spanish Fork. And the building across the street used to be a grocery store. It's one of the first 2 grocery stores in Spanish Fork, is what I've been told.
Wow.
And so, and what is a food pantry but a grocery store? And that building across the street is I want to say it's 11,500 and something square feet, which is significantly larger.
Just a tad.
Just a tad bit larger than what we currently have. Also, it has the area space to have at least 34 to 36 parking stalls. So big warehouse space. I think this warehouse space is 6,500 square feet. The market space will increase by, I think, 40%. Admin space will also increase by 50%, and so it's amazing. And so we had the unique opportunity to purchase this building. Well, we're in the process of purchasing the building, raising funds so we can purchase it. We had 2 very wonderful, wealthy benefactors who came to me 2 years ago and said, they recognized by the time we were to raise the funds to purchase the building and then renovate it, the building would have been sold. And so they said, hey, we will come in, we will buy the building, we'll renovate it, and sell it back to Tabitha's Way for the cost.
Wow.
For the cost per penny, no profiting, just by cost. And so, and of course I said, yes. It's like, so we're in the process of fundraising, but we will be moving into that building here shortly. So
very cool.
We're very excited. We're still raising funds for the building. So that is the challenge, is raising funds for the building. But we're very excited about this project, so because it's needed. And our goal with this building is not just to meet the needs of today, but to meet the needs of our community for decades to come. So this will be something that will be here to serve our community long after I'm gone. So
that's cool. And with the 30% increase, that's who knows how high it's going to be. I mean, unfortunately, needs are something that are a part of our world currently, right?
Yeah.
And having the space and the ability to serve more and more people as they enter our community, or as life happens to people, that's really cool.
Well, and I should mention, 75% of the individuals we serve, or the families we're serving, come for less than 3 months. So we're very much like a revolving door. So our mission statement is to help individuals and families through tough times by providing temporary food assistance, recommending resources for self-reliance, and then neighbors helping neighbors. So, and we kind of talked about what is a tough time. There's a variety of different tough times, but again, if most individuals are coming for just temporary and we're much a revolving door, why do we need a larger food pantry? What's going on is the question I often get. And one, I let people know, well, until we all drive Teslas, we're all living in happy marriages, independently wealthy, and our cars don't break down. We've cured cancer. Our community will always have tough times. We are at risk of a tough time, of facing tough times, and so we'll always need some type of solution available to individuals in our community when they might be going through that tough time and need food assistance. And so that's what we do. And so making sure we have a persistent solution is vitally important to fighting food insecurity in our community.
That's amazing. That's so cool. How's the best way, like with this transition and with the season that we're coming into? We're coming into the holiday season here. what's the best way for the community to get involved and just helping people that have food insecurity and maybe helping with the transition? Where are the areas that maybe we can come together and help mitigate some, bottlenecks that you might see?
Yeah. Well, first and foremost, volunteering.
Mm.
Coming in. Again, the number of families we're serving, we need lots of hands of volunteers. And it's been really difficult during the summer months. July historically is usually a difficult time. People are getting their last minute vacation, family vacations, and which is great, and then getting kids ready for school. But really coming into our food pantries and maybe choosing to come in for a 1 3 hour shift to either help stock our food pantry and get our shelves ready to serve clients, or coming in and for 3 hours and serving clients, making sure that they get the food that they need is extremely helpful for us. I always tell people we're a party of projects. There's lots of volunteer opportunities. We try to make it easy by going to our website and just clicking on, you know, I think it's volunteer. There's just a volunteer tab. Just click on volunteer, or how to help is another way it will say it. And you can it'll ask you to pick which pantry is closest to you. And then once you identify which one's closest to you, then you can just click on any of the volunteer opportunities and come and volunteer. That's extremely meaningful to us, is to come and volunteer and offer your time. Getting involved in food drives and donating food, of course. We rely on food donations for us to be able to provide those nutritious meals. So, organize a food drive or get engaged with a food drive is helpful. And then, of course, monetarily. If you were to do on a scale of 1 to 10, I think collecting food, I think we're probably a 7 or 8. Volunteers, I think we're probably pretty close to that, maybe, depending on the season. Right now it's been a little bit low on volunteers. But then financial donations. A lot of people think, oh, you're a nonprofit, you receive federal funds and state funds. We do receive a small portion of our funds. This year we'll receive 2% of our operating expenses will be covered from state and federal funds.
Oh.
But the rest is all from private donors. We rely very heavily on generous, kind, giving private donors. And so we kind of mentioned, the cost per meal is 20 cents. So if you can and would like to donate funds, that helps us keep our lights on. It helps us keep our refrigerators going. It pays for gas to go pick up food.
Yeah.
So donating, funds, donating $10 a month, or, we have some donors that donate, $500 to $1,000 a month. Other donors that donate, just whatever on your spectrum, but any amount of funds that you can donate. I have a donor that has been donating $5 a month since we opened, and I cherish it. I think it's such a blessing. It's such a wonderful thing, and that's what that individual's capacity is to do, and it's beautiful to me. So we're grateful for every penny, and it just helps. So we need food, time, and money. So volunteers, funds.
Love it. Food, time, and money. Kind of the cores of every organization.
yeah, that's what we need. So.
That's really neat. Thank you for sharing that. I know that coming into the holiday season, food is also such a family thing, and it really brings people together. It's something that should bring people together at least a couple times a day, and we set aside time for, and especially coming into this holiday season, there's plans and travel that, ends up, really bringing the whole family together. And I know that with people trying to, work through that food insecurity, you had mentioned earlier that if there were types of food that you would want to feed your family, that's what we want to feed the community in that area. And are there any specific types of items or specific types of food that really are a hot commodity this time of year, kind of coming into the fall and Thanksgiving and holiday season?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Well, thank you for asking that question, because you're absolutely right. We actually have 2 events that are coming up. We do what's called a turkey basket giveaway and a Christmas basket giveaway, where we provide complete holiday meals for families in need. And so that basket will include, for example, it will be like your traditional Thanksgiving meal. So it'll have your turkey, it'll have your potatoes, your rolls, your pie, your canned green beans, everything that you need for a holiday meal. And so we'll be looking to collect very specific items for that and for funds that help us buy whatever we don't collect. So we'll be doing that here soon and starting those drives. And so we'll put lists out for those items. Again, everything that's traditional Thanksgiving or Christmas. Christmas we give our clients the choice between ham or turkey because some families like ham and some like turkey. And actually found that some like chicken, so we've been offering chicken now too.
Oh, cool.
A whole chicken. So I'm like, oh yeah, we could do chicken too. It's just a smaller turkey, right? It's like, so, but giving them the option for those different things. And so we'll collect those, yams, pineapple, canned green beans, corn, different Jello items that you would use to make a pie, and those kind of things. We'll collect those specific items. Stuffing is another one. We'll put in those boxes. And then traditionally, food pantries typically need canned meats, canned fruits. We typically get a lot of canned vegetables, but canned fruit, canned meats, canned tomatoes, and then also, your staples like rice, dried noodles, dried beans are always items that food pantries need that are helpful. Those are kind of like those basic ingredients that you can utilize to make different types of recipes and different types of meals are things that we will need. So
Awesome.
So, and we appreciate, again, I just want to say thank you to you, Chris, and to Triple T for being a part of our story. I didn't mention this earlier, but I probably should have. We've had a long-standing relationship with the Triple T organization. I think I shared with your team, Triple T came in and brought in our first set of shelves when we didn't have the appropriate types of shelves to stock food on. And I know that doesn't sound glamorous or like a big deal, but when you have, 2,000 pounds of food that's sliding off of shelves onto the floor, it's not a good way. We couldn't operate, we couldn't function. And Triple T came in and not only bought our first set of shelves, but they installed them for us. And that was kind of the beginning back in 2010 with Tabitha's Way. And Triple T has been involved with food drives, with donating time, with donating funds, participating in our events. We do our backpack events. You guys have been involved with that and serving children. It's been a wonderful thing. And food pantries need the help of corporations and businesses and individuals to make a food pantry work, and to highlight our our relationship.
Yeah.
And then many other organizations that have stepped in. We've had local banks come in and volunteer their time. It's just been a wonderful thing. Our warehouse was completely insulated and built by Home Depot. And so
Amazing.
they came in and insulated and did our roof and our walls and everything, because it was just a steel structure, and they insulated and did the whole thing. And just different organizations have done different things to help to help us do what we do, whether that's offering time to help us with technologies and software, to doing manual labor and doing the things that Wendy can't do. It's been great. So I'm tremendously grateful for that. And so, but there's many ways, whether you're an individual, whether you're a local business or corporation, that you can engage with our organization and do good. And I find most people want to do good. Most businesses want to do good. They're just looking for a way to do it.
Yeah.
And this is me raising our hand saying, pick me, pick us.
Pick us. Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I know I'm new here to Spanish Fork area, and it was really Providence that just kind of brought us together, and I was just so honored and blessed to be a part of an organization that had that type of history, right? It's, taking on a mantle of the company. It's so important for us to, honor, Brad and the Tanners and all the hard work that they did, and then continue onward with, the integrity and the honesty and the values of that company are so deeply important to us, because people are important. I said it earlier, but it's all about people. And, the partnership and the historics that Triple T had years before even, I came to this wonderful state and this wonderful town is so cool. And I really want to honor the Tanner brothers because they set the foundation for that. And I'm excited to see where we can help and volunteer and help shore up different parts of our community as life progresses and as we move forward. Mm-hmm. And I have this section of the podcast that I've labeled Spilt Tea, because everything is Triple T or honesty or integrity, and so Spilt Tea is like my shameless plug at like what's future things coming. And I'm really excited that we're gonna here towards the end of August, beginning of September, October. That's normally our maintenance season for HVAC.
Mm-hmm.
Um, Really, the longevity and efficiency and the comfort of everybody's homes is driven through these kind of magical units that are in the basement that you hear
Mm-hmm.
kick on and off, and then when they stop working, you
They
call
call
somebody
you.
to see who can come out, right? And the maintenance behind that equipment is so important for keeping people warm when it gets really really cold, or keeping people comfortable when it gets hot.
Mm-hmm.
And maintenance is what drives that.
Mm-hmm.
And so we've kind of developed this way of looking at equipment that I think is pretty neat. I've been in the HVAC industry for 15 years now. I've been in people's homes. I have all the certifications. I love that. I'm very hands-on. But we want to come in and just kind of take a look and see everybody's home is different, just like everybody's needs is different with food. So the way that we attack that is we want to look at your system and see specifically what it is that your system needs that maybe another home wouldn't. One of the things that's kind of interesting that I don't know if people have thought about, but I have a dog and my neighbors next door do not. And that completely changes the dynamics of how long this system is going to last, because there's extra hair and dander and everything else that comes in.
Yeah, yeah.
So what we're going to do this fall season is we want to come in and take a look specifically at people's homes on what they actually need, and give them a good understanding of what the comfort, the operation, the reliability, and the efficiency, and really most importantly the safety of the system moving forward. And we've decided to kind of package that in a way that is a win for the client and a win for us. And normally this is a $108 kind of service that we do. We've kind of redeveloped parts of it, and we decided to kind of stick on the price of $89. But moving into this August, September, October season, we really wanted to incorporate a food drive with that as well. So between you and I talking, I heard through the grapevine, not really a food joke, but kind of, through the grapevine, that pineapples and yams are hard to get. So anybody in our community that needs an HVAC maintenance just to make sure that their system is lasting as long as possible, if you donate 4 cans of pineapples or yams, then we'll give you $40 off that maintenance inspection. And I think for us, the whole goal of the maintenance is to really make sure that we're giving the best service and you're getting the best amount of life and efficiency and comfort out of your system. And I think it's kind of cool how if pineapples and yams, you can't really get them during the season, but that's going to give the best to the people that need food. That's going to give them the best experience. And I think that's pretty cool.
I think it's amazing, Chris. And our conversation, we had many conversations, you and I love your leadership style, and also for our conversations about how you care about people and how that goes into your leadership style and the leadership here at Triple T and, this organization here. And it's all about people and helping people and loving people through what you do. And then you and I saw a direct alignment when we were sitting there talking. You might be doing HVAC and I might be doing food pantry, but we're helping people in a very real and good way, and we care about people. The core of what we're doing is caring for people. You're caring through, people, helping people like me, like you said, who have, fur babies or fur puppies, as you would say, that have, like, I've got a Corgi Australian Shepherd mixed dog, and so I've got fur everywhere.
Oh, yes.
And
yes.
so you're absolutely right. So you said that, and I started laughing, thinking, we've got fur everywhere. But just in a very authentic and genuine way to help serve people, helping them with their particular need and safety with their furnaces and their HVAC needs, but then also giving them the opportunity to serve others through that by providing those cans of food, so such a great alignment from leadership mindset to loving people to serving people, all wrapped up in one really cute little package. And so I love it. So I think this is just amazing. We're so grateful to partner with you on this and to be the recipients of this goodwill that you've expressed. And so thank you that you're planning and doing and all these great things that you've done already. So thank you so much.
Oh man, it's been a huge pleasure, and thank you for all the work that you've done. I think it's it's humbling to come into a community and really see the caringness, pride and progress, right,
Yeah,
of
yeah.
what kind of our historic roots are and how we can continue moving forward. And I really, really like that. So thank you for the kind words. Um, it's so true. People are all that really, really matter. And anything that we can do to help people has got to be foundational in everything that we do. Otherwise, it just kind of becomes selfish. And gosh, I mean, I never feel good when I'm selfish, so I can imagine that's probably how other people feel too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah. Well, the opportunity to serve other people, to give, and to help one another. Really, real quick. Yeah, we did a years ago. We did I was part of a volunteer appreciation, and we had a volunteer that got up and spoke, and she used this analogy of lean and prop up,
hmm.
and it was really interesting because every time I had seen this volunteer, she was extremely happy,
Hmm.
and she got up and spoke during the volunteer appreciation event for our pantries, and she shared with me that we shared with the group, rather, not just me, but with the entire group, that she had struggled with depression, and she said that coming into our food pantry allowed her, while she was helping other people, allowed her to take her mindset off of her her problems, the things that her struggles that she was facing, and all those problems just didn't go away, but it made them seem less in
Hmm.
some way, and or just by not focusing on it all the time made it seem less. And she said, I'm here. People might be leaning on me to help them, but they're propping me up.
Hmm.
And I thought, that is so true. And what we do in life is we lean and prop up. We have that opportunity. And we might be the one leaning, we might be also propping up at the same time. We just don't know one another's stories. But there's so much joy in giving and serving. And I love that the heart for you, Chris, is about people, and your action is serving or finding ways. Like you're since I've known you, you're like, what can I do? Your mind's always turning about what can I do to help my team here? What can I do for the staff that work, my employees? What can I do for this organization? What can I do for our community? What can I do for Tabitha's Way? And not just Tabitha's Way, but other organizations. I know you were involved with many organizations, helping them over Fiesta Days,
Hmm.
and so I just appreciate that. I think you and Triple T continues to be an amazing asset to our community and tremendous partners to organizations like Tabitha's Way and many other organizations. So thank you.
Ah,
Thank you.
thank you. Yeah, this has been great. Is there anything else you kind of like to maybe share on this platform, or any other kind of final comments that you'd like to just state?
Uh, well, again, like you, I appreciate living here in Spanish Fork in this community. I'm grateful to do this work. I'm honored to do it. We invite anyone who wants to come and participate and see what we're all about and learn about our new building, or you know see how you can help. But I think you will find that there's great joy in serving and loving others. And whether that's you choose to do it through us, it doesn't matter. Just go do it. Life is so much more fun when we get to love on other people. Makes it worth living.
Absolutely, it does. And with that, I mean, this has been locality. The reason why we call it locality is because it's kind of an old school word that was. Uh, I looked on Google and they have the trends of like how often people use words, and
Is
it's
it back
been
in town? It's back in
it's
style.
way down from the 1900s. I can tell you that. But really, it's focusing on the things that are local to you, almost like community, but a place that you kind of live within. It's something that you have direct influence over. And so I just want to thank you for sharing your voice in our locality and in our community. And I'm really excited to see how we can help people together and help out our community when it comes to needs with food and with clothing and with help. And I encourage everyone that's listening to this to also reach out, find ways that we can make a difference together in our community. And how can we make a difference in a way that is scalable and we can continue doing it? Not just a one off thing, but how can we incorporate it into our lifestyle?
Hmm.
So thank you so
Thank
much.
you, Chris.
Yeah, my pleasure.